Odd Man Out is a decent episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, and I think the first time I've liked Marco as a character. I've never liked him up until this point, but actually, he was pretty decent. This is the third episode of the sixth season of Everybody Loves Raymond. This is directed by Zaks, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode chronologically and share some thoughts. And it starts off with Frank sitting on the sofa, the doorbell rings, he goes to answer it, and it's Marco. Marco, of course, being Stefania's father. And he's actually there to see Marie because he promised his mother that he would learn to play piano, and his mother is now deceased, so he wants to finally honour that wish. And he goes to Marie to learn, and Marie's really happy about this. Frank is a little bit irritated because he was going to have a beer with Marco, but he's there for Marie, and that's the main theme. Whose friend should Marco be? And Frank ends up going over to Ray and Debra's. Ray and Robert are there, and Ray happens to mention that Marco should only play the haunted house organ, and Robert does this amazing but disgusting thing with his eyes where he's pretending to play this organ and his eyes are like rolled back. I can't even see his pupils, and it's horrible, and I absolutely love it. And Frank is clearly jealous, and they determine this. But he's not jealous of Marco and the fact that he's getting to spend time with his wife. He's jealous, of course, of Marie and the fact that Marco is choosing to spend time with her. And as he says, he shouldn't be with her, he should be with me. He wants Marco to be a friend, and it's quite sweet, actually. And he goes over to talk with Marco, but Marco says all of the right things about how he feels really bad that every time he comes over to learn to play the piano, Frank leaves, and he doesn't want to be pushing Frank out of his house. Frank also seems a little bit almost intimidated by Marco. And he wasn't sure where Marco was going, and he kind of looked a little bit nervous, which was quite interesting as well. Do you want to be friends with somebody who makes you nervous? I'm not sure, but certainly it was an interesting moment. And he ends up inviting Marco to play poker down at the lodge, and Marco has decided he'd rather go to the lodge than play piano. And of course, Marie's not happy about this, but he points out that he'll be back once he sees Frank naked. He'll be back. Frank will be naked in the pool and the sauna and things. And yeah, it was quite a funny moment. The rest of the episode plays out at Ray and Debra's. They're having the party for Marie's birthday, and Frank is not there. He refuses to go, and Marco is there, of course. And Robert drags over the piano. I feel like, wouldn't the piano be on wheels? Would it really be that challenging on his back? I don't know. I've never pushed a piano, but I feel like Robert would know the proper technique. But either way, apparently he really hurt his back pushing it across the road, and we get some physical comedy there. And then Frank appears from behind the fridge, and it was a nice little weak jump scare moment. And he just comes out with it and asks Marco, whose friend do you want to be? And obviously Marco doesn't want to answer this. That's a really awkward question. But he does eventually say Frank. And honestly, I thought he would have chosen Marie. But at the same time, he was only spending time with Marie because she was teaching him to play the piano. Whereas when he was spending time with Frank, it was to do things down in the lodge, which I assume is a lot more fun for him than trying to learn the piano, which he clearly isn't enjoying anyway. So maybe I'm not that surprised, actually, that he chose Frank. And Marie tried to not seem hurt by this, but Frank, having known his wife for many years, could clearly tell that she was a little upset by this, and he very kindly offered Marco to her, which is a very odd moment. But she dismisses it and says, no, you keep him. And they get into an argument in true Frank and Marie style. And it's just Marco I feel sorry for, because this is an incredibly awkward situation. And I never thought I'd feel sorry for Marco. I really did not like the character up until this point. But actually, this is a turning point for me. And I actually think he's a decent guy. I guess once we get to know him, he's actually quite kind and interesting. I guess once he's not angry at Robert for chasing after his daughter, he's actually not a bad person. And ultimately, I thought it was a decent episode. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know if I have any specific personal highlights. I just think the whole thing worked really, really well. And I rather enjoyed it. I think the highlight for me is the fact that it's changed my opinion on the character of Marco. That was a really great thing, so I enjoyed that a lot. And all things considered, I can't fault it. I thought Odd Man Out was a delightful episode, and I'm sure it's one that I'll always really thoroughly enjoy.